In a time when the world was trying to heal, one family stood between law and lawlessness, between the old ways and the future. 1923 doesn't just tell a story, it drags you into the dust, the blood, and the fire of survival. And once you're in ... there's no turning back. In 1923, America was not the land of dreams. It was a land of struggle, a country caught between two worlds, the old and the new. The war had ended, but its shadow still covered the land. Soldiers came home with wounds that couldn't be seen. Families had changed, towns had changed. And in the wide open lands of Montana, the fight for land, power, and survival had only just begun. This is where the story of 1923 takes place, not in a big city. Not in the noise of jazz clubs or the flashing lights of industry, but in the cold, hard silence of the American West, where cattle moved like storms across the plains. Where snow wasn't just a season, it was a threat. And where men and women had to choose every day whether they would fight to survive or be swallowed up by the land. The Dutton family stood at the center of this world. You may know their name from the modern-day Yellowstone series, but in 1923, they were still writing their legend. Jacob Dutton, the head of the family, wasn't just a rancher. He was a leader, a fighter, a man shaped by the old world but staring down the new one. With his wife Cara by his side, he held the land with strong hands and an even stronger will. The land itself was changing. Trains were bringing strangers into towns. Fences were cutting across open fields. The rules of ranching were no longer written by the strongest man, but by governments and business owners far away. But Jacob refused to give in. To him, land meant legacy. It meant survival. And he was ready to defend it at any cost. But nature didn't care about legacy. The land of Montana was harsh and unforgiving. Droughts, disease, predators, both animal and human-made, every day a test. There was no safety net. If you lost your cattle, you lost your future. If you trusted the wrong man, you might not live to see the next sunrise. At the same time, bigger forces were moving quietly in the background. The country was going through prohibition, a law that banned alcohol but encouraged crime, while the East was dancing in fancy clothes and drinking in hidden bars. The West was struggling just to stay alive. Montana wasn't part of the party, it was part of the fight. That's the world of 1923, a world where nothing was guaranteed. Where families were made or broken by the choices of one day. Where history wasn't written in books, it was written in blood, dust, and fire. And in the middle of it all, the Duttons were not just trying to survive. They were trying to protect everything they stood for. This setting isn't just background, it is the story. It shapes every decision, every battle, every heartbreak. Without this world, the story of 1923 wouldn't hit as hard, wouldn't feel as real, wouldn't matter as much. Because this world is more than a time or a place. It's a test of who you are when everything you love is under threat. And not everyone survives that test. Behind every great story are the people who live it, and in 1923, it's the characters that make this world unforgettable. They're not just names on a page, they're living, breathing reminders of how hard survival can be. Each one carries their own pain, their own past, and their own reasons for fighting. And together, they build the heart of this brutal tale. First, we meet Jacob Dutton. He's the older brother of James Dutton, the man we followed in 1883. Now Jacob carries the weight of the Dutton family name. He didn't inherit this land, he earned it. And he protects it with the same fire that built it. Jacob is a strong man, but he's not cruel. He's tired, focused, and constantly aware that everything he built can be taken in a moment. Played by the legendary Harrison Ford, Jacob isn't a flashy hero. He's a man who knows that respect doesn't come from power. It comes from pain and how you carry it. Beside him stands Cara Dutton, his wife. Don't let the quiet tone of her voice fool you. She is one of the fiercest characters in this series. Cara is more than a ranch wife, she's the glue that holds everything together. She writes letters, she keeps the home, but more than anything, she watches everything. Cara sees danger before it arrives. She sees sadness that others try to hide. Played by Helen Mirren, Cara shows us what strength looks like when it wears a calm face and walks with grace. Her love for Jacob is real, but her love for the family, for the land is deeper, than there's Spencer Dutton, Jacob's nephew. A younger man haunted by war. Spencer fought in World War I, and when he returned, he didn't come home. Instead, he ran far from America, working as a big game hunter in Africa, chasing death instead of peace. Spencer doesn't speak much, but his silence says a lot. He's running from ghosts, from guilt, from something inside that won't let him rest. But when tragedy calls him home, Spencer has to make a choice: stay hidden, or come back and fight for the family that needs him. Spencer's story brings us to Alexandra, the woman who unexpectedly becomes his partner in both love and danger. She meets Spencer in Africa and, against all odds, falls in love with the broken man beneath the scars. Alexandra isn't a simple love interest. She's smart, bold, and willing to risk everything to stand beside him as they journey across continents, trying to make it back to Montana. Their story becomes one of survival and of healing. On the other side of the fight is Banner Creighton, a Scottish sheep herder and the rising threat to the Duttons. He believes the land should be shared, not ruled by old ranching families. He's angry, smart, and willing to do anything to get what he thinks is fair. Banner may not look dangerous at first, but his actions are bold and his revenge is sharp. He's not the kind of villain you forget. He's the kind you understand even if you don't agree with him. And then there's Teonna Rainwater. Her story is separate, but it's the most painful. Teonna is a young indigenous girl taken from her family and forced into a government boarding school. There, she's abused, humiliated, and stripped of her identity. But Teonna doesn't break. She fights, she escapes. And her journey becomes a story of resistance, of reclaiming her name, her strength, and her place in the world. Teonna's story is not easy to watch, but it's necessary. It reminds us that 1923 isn't just about cowboys and ranchers. It's about history, real history, and the pain that still echoes through time. Every character in 1923 brings something powerful to the story. They are broken in different ways. They want different things. But they're all caught in the same storm, whether it's Jacob fighting for land, Cara fighting for peace, Spencer fighting his past, or Teonna fighting for her freedom. Their stories matter. And together, they make 1923 more than just a Western. They make it human. The story of 1923 isn't just one tale, it's several lives crashing into each other, shaped by pain, loss, love, and revenge. Every plotline carries weight. Every action has a cost. And when you step into this world, you learn quickly no one walks away clean. It all begins on the land. The Dutton Ranch, passed down through blood and sacrifice, is under threat. Cattle are dying, feed is running low. The winter is cruel, and behind it all, greed is growing. A group of sheep herders, led by Banner Creighton, want a piece of the land. They don't believe the Duttons should control everything. In their eyes, the land belongs to everyone. But Banner isn't just asking, he's taking. And his fight with Jacob Dutton quickly turns violent. Banner moves fast and hits hard. He stages an ambush, gunning down Jacob and his men in a surprise attack. The moment is shocking and brutal. For a second, it seems like Jacob might not survive. But he does, and he's filled with rage. This isn't just about land anymore. It's about justice. It's about sending a message that if you come for the Duttons, you'd better be ready to finish the job. But Banner doesn't stop. He finds a new ally, Donald Whitfield, a rich and powerful businessman who sees Montana as something to be bought. Whitfield has money, lawyers, influence, And he doesn't care about the rules. He wants the Dutton land, and he's willing to break every law to take it. Now, the Duttons face enemies who fight with guns and those who fight with money, and both are deadly. While this battle plays out at home, Spencer Dutton is thousands of miles away, hunting lions and leopards in Africa. He's running from war, from his past, and maybe even from himself. But everything changes when he meets Alexandra, a spirited British woman engaged to a man she doesn't love. In Spencer, she sees something raw and real. They fall in love almost instantly, but this isn't a fairy tale. Their journey is long, dangerous, and full of tragedy. News reaches Spencer that his family is under attack. His brother has been killed, his uncle is badly wounded, and the ranch is on the edge of collapse. He knows he has to return. But getting from Africa to Montana isn't easy. Their journey becomes a test of endurance. They survive shipwrecks, hunger, and heartbreak all while holding onto each other. Every step they take brings them closer to home and closer to the storm waiting for them. Back in America, Teonna Rainwater's story unfolds far from the ranch, but her pain runs just as deep. She's trapped in a government-run boarding school, a place meant to erase her culture and identity. The nuns are cruel. The priest is violent. But Teonna is strong. She refuses to be broken. After suffering unbearable abuse, she escapes. Her journey is one of survival through the wild, hunted and alone. But help comes from unexpected places: her grandmother, and a young man named Hank who risks everything to keep her safe. Teonna's arc is one of the most emotional in the series. It's raw, it's real, and it sheds light on a part of history many try to forget. As these stories unfold, they start to come together. Violence grows, tensions rise. Every decision made in one place affects someone in another. By the end of the season, everything is on the line. Jacob is still trying to hold the family together. Cara is writing desperate letters to Spencer, begging him to return. Banner and Whitfield are tightening their grip. And Spencer and Alexandra, after surviving so much, are still far from home. The season ends not with peace, but with a warning. A reminder that the fight is just beginning. The enemies are not defeated, the land is not safe, and the Duttons, even after everything, are still one step away from losing it all. What makes 1923 powerful isn't just the action or the plot twists, it's the emotion behind every moment. The grief, the rage, the hope. You feel the weight of every loss. You understand why these characters make the choices they do, even when those choices cost them everything. There are no simple answers here. Just people trying to hold on to the things that matter, no matter how much it hurts. The story of 1923 is more than just ranches, shootouts, and family drama. What makes this series powerful is what it says beneath the surface. Every scene carries a deeper meaning. Every decision reflects something bigger. When we look past the violence and the hardship, we find a story about legacy, survival, identity, and the high cost of holding on to what we love. At the heart of 1923 is the idea of legacy. What does it mean to build something that lasts? The Duttons are not just fighting to keep their land. They're fighting to protect a way of life, one that was built by sweat, sacrifice, and generations of pain. Jacob knows the land doesn't just feed cattle, it holds memory. It holds history. That's why losing it feels like death. Every fence post, every tree, every trail on that ranch has meaning. To him, it's not just soil, it's soul, and that's why the battle is so fierce. But legacy comes with a price. And that price is often violence. In 1923, violence isn't flashy or fun. It's brutal, cold, often it feels senseless, but that's the point. Whether it's Banner's ambush, the cruelty of the boarding school, or Spencer's battles across continents, violence is everywhere. The show doesn't glorify it, it shows it. Because the world these characters live in doesn't care about fairness. It only understands power. And sometimes, survival means becoming the very thing you fear. Another deep theme in 1923 is identity. Every main character is struggling to understand who they are in a world that keeps changing. Jacob is trying to be both a man of the past and the leader of the future. Spencer is torn between being a soldier, a killer, and a man trying to love again. Cara is a woman from the old world, but she carries more strength than many of the men around her. And then there's Teonna. Her story is all about fighting to keep her identity alive when everything is trying to erase it. Teonna's arc is one of the most emotional parts of the series, and it carries the heavy theme of colonial trauma. The boarding school isn't just a building, it's a system built to destroy. Her hair is cut, her name is taken, her beliefs are punished, but she refuses to become someone else. Her escape isn't just about running away, it's about taking back who she is. In a world where power is used to silence, Teonna's voice becomes a roar. Her survival is her resistance. The show also dives into the conflict between nature and civilization. You see this in how the land is treated by the Duttons, by Whitfield, and by the government. The land doesn't belong to anyone but men. Try to own it, cut it up, control it, and every time they do, nature pushes back. In the snowstorms, the drought, the wild animals, nature is always reminding them, you are not in charge. You are just visitors here. Another deep thread in 1923 is the idea of isolation and connection. Characters are constantly pulled apart by war, by distance, by fear. Spencer and Alexandra are separated by oceans. Cara writes letters with no reply. Teonna is ripped away from her family. Yet through all this, they still reach for each other. They still hold on to hope. The show reminds us that even in the darkest places, love survives. Even when people are pushed to the edge, they still fight to find their way back. And finally, 1923 is about the cost of survival. Not just physically, but emotionally. Everyone loses something. A brother, a home, a part of themselves, and yet they keep going. Because in this world, you don't have time to mourn. You fight or you fade, and that's what gives the story. It's hard. These characters are not perfect. They make mistakes, they hurt each other, but they endure. And that's what makes them unforgettable. By the end of the season, we're not just left with a cliffhanger. We're left with questions. What are we willing to do to protect what we love? How far would we go to keep our name alive? And at what point does survival become something darker? 1923 isn't just a show about a family. It's a mirror. It shows us the past but also forces us to think about the present, about the systems that still shape our lives, the wounds that still haven't healed, and the choices we still make every day between right and survival. You can have a powerful story. You can have unforgettable characters, but what truly makes 1923 unforgettable is how it looks, feels, and sounds. This series doesn't just tell you a story, it puts you inside it. Every frame, every sound, every shadow builds a world that feels real, lived in, and painfully beautiful. And that's not by accident. It's the result of masterful direction, acting, music, and cinematography. You can have a powerful story. You can have unforgettable characters. But what truly makes 1923 unforgettable is how it looks, feels, and sounds. This series doesn't just tell you a story, it puts you inside it. Every frame, every sound, every shadow builds a world that feels real, lived in, and painfully beautiful. And that's not by accident. It's the result of masterful direction, acting, music, and cinematography. Let's start with the visuals. 1923 is breathtaking to look at. The wide shots of Montana's mountains, golden fields, and snow-covered plains feel like paintings. But these aren't just pretty landscapes, they tell a story. They remind you how small people are in the face of nature. They show how isolated the ranch is, and they help you feel the weight of the land that everyone's fighting over. The camera doesn't rush. It lingers on faces, on hands, on blood in the snow. You're not just watching, you're feeling. Asterisk, and then there's Africa where Spencer's journey begins. These scenes don't feel like a side plot. They're bold, sunburnt, and filled with danger. You can almost taste the dust. You can feel the heat. The show gives every location its own personality. Montana feels cold and tense. Africa feels hot and wild. And the cities in between feel tight and modern, a sharp contrast to the raw wilderness. These changes aren't just for style. They help the viewer feel the distance, how far Spencer is from home, how far the family is from safety. Asterisk, now let's talk about the sound. Asterisk, the music in 1923 is haunting. It doesn't overpower the story, it supports it. The score uses old instruments, echoing drums, soft violins, and sometimes just silence. Silence that makes a moment feel 10 times heavier. A gunshot sounds louder when it cuts through quiet. A cry feels more painful when there's no music to soften it. And that's what the show understands perfectly. Sometimes less is more. Asterisk, every scene is carefully layered with sound. The creak of a saddle, the wind through dry grass, the crackle of fire. These small details make the world feel alive, real, dangerous. You don't just hear a gunfight, you feel it in your chest. Asterisk, then there's the acting, and it's nothing short of phenomenal. Asterisk, Harrison Ford as Jacob Dutton brings a rare mix of strength and vulnerability. He's not a superhero. He's a man who's tired, wounded, but still standing. His silences say more than most characters' words. He carries every scene with a quiet power, like a man who's seen too much but refuses to give up. Asterisk, Helen Mirren as Cara Dutton gives a performance that's pure steel wrapped in elegance. She isn't loud. She doesn't need to be. You see her strength in her eyes, in how she holds herself. Cara isn't just supporting Jacob, she is the spine of the Dutton family. She writes letters full of pain and hope. She faces enemies without blinking, and every word she speaks feels like it matters. Asterisk, Brandon Sklenar as Spencer Dutton gives us one of the most complex performances in the series. Spencer is broken but not beaten. He's full of rage, full of love, full of grief, and the way Brandon plays him, it feels real. His scenes with Julia Shaw for Alexandra are filled with chemistry. Their love isn't sweet or soft, it's desperate, ardent, two souls clinging to each other to survive. Asterisk, and let's not forget Amina Neves, who plays Teonna Rainwater. Her performance is one of the most powerful in the show. Teonna goes through unthinkable pain, but she never loses her spirit. Amina's eyes hold a quiet fire, and when she finally breaks free, it's not just victory. It's justice. Asterisk, behind all of this is Taylor Sheridan, the creator of 1923. His vision is clear. He knows this world, he respects it, and he doesn't take shortcuts. The pacing is slow, but never boring. Every pause means something. Every close-up is chosen with purpose. Sheridan makes us sit with the characters through their pain, their joy, their fear. That's what makes his storytelling so effective. He's not just building a Western. He's building a legacy. Asterisk, and that's what 1923 truly is. A legacy in storytelling, in acting, in craft. It's a show that doesn't hold your hand but rewards your patience. It challenges you. It moves you. It sticks with you. Asterisk, when the screen fades to black, you're not just thinking about what happened. You're feeling it. You're thinking about the land, the family, the choices, the silence. You're left wondering how far you would go to protect what's yours, and how much you'd lose along the way. Asterisk, that's what makes 1923 more than a show. Asterisk, it's an experience.